by the bayou's tranquil waters, on the campus of the University of Louisiana at Monroe, a vast array of natural history awaits discovery. The University of Louisiana at Monroe houses a natural history museum of incredible proportions. The areas of study and research in the museum are botany, zoology, and geosciences. The museum specializes in research in these areas and has at its disposal a molecular biology lab for this purpose. The museum has a substantial plant collection. This collection is kept in a herbarium, which is part of the botany division of the museum.
Botany is the study of the biology of plants, and it can cover just about any subdiscipline of biology that any other organism can. You can study physiology, taxonomy, the evolutionary history. So it's really a broad science. The herbarium is like a museum repository. It's a collection of plant specimens that have been pressed and dried and attached to 11.5 by 16.5 sheets of paper with label data that tells us something about where the plant was collected, when it was collected, and by whom. A collection that we have that we're sort of proud of is a collection of organisms called rattlesnake fern, which is in the family Ophioglossacea. It's a real primitive fern family, primitive in the evolutionary sense. And we have probably the world's largest collection of that family right here in this herbarium.
The second division of the Museum of Natural History is zoology, which includes the subcategories of ichthyology and herpetology.
Ichthyology is the study of fish. It's just the biological study of fish and their ecology, how to name them, how many fish there are, their diversity, everything that has to do with fish. Some of the species that we have here in the museum, we have a saltwater collection of fish. We also have freshwater collections, and in the freshwater collections we have a separate section just of fish from foreign countries. Oftentimes that will include various tilapia or cichlids. Sometimes it will include like the sleepers, and especially the gobies, because Dr. Petzold works on a lot of gobies. Those are our small saltwater fish. We literally have gobies from all over the world as part of Dr. Petzold's own ichthyology collection.
My training is in ichthyology. I'm the curator of zoology, which means that I oversee all of our zoological collections. The largest of our zoological collections is the ichthyology collection. We have about 77,000 jars of fishes.
We have what's called a North American component of our collection, so we have an entire room full of North American freshwater fishes. And many of them are from local bayous, especially Bayou Bartholomew or Bayou Deluder.
Our collections offer our students a resource they're not going to find at most institutions. Students who are working here as undergraduates or as master's students are going to find that this can be a unique experience. There is no other institution like ours that has research collections like ours.
I eat fish. When I was a Peace Corps volunteer, we had tilapia ponds, and my farmers are always harvesting tilapia. So, yeah, it's even fun. You spend all this time working with fish, and then you get to eat them in the end. What more do you want?
Herpetology is the study of amphibians and reptiles. So that would include all frogs, toads, salamanders, snakes, lizards, turtles, and alligators. The collection is of great historical importance because of the documentation of the distribution of species over decades, starting in the 1960s. It includes an extensive series of specimens of a local frog, the crawfish frog, that is locally anyway, is no longer present.
The last division of the museum is geosciences, which contains the three subcategories of geology, paleontology, and archaeology.
Geology is actually the study of the earth. In its simplest form, geo means earth, so it's just the study of the earth. So it would include all the things such as rocks and minerals and fossils and so on. Of course, a lot of people just look and they see a rock and they don't see or really ascertain or understand the importance of a lot of rocks. For example, maybe this ugly looking rock to somebody is actually bauxite. And of course, bauxite is the source of aluminum, everything aluminum, from the parts on your car to the aluminum can of your soft drink. One of the things we have here in the museum is some rocks that were actually formed when there were volcanoes here in Louisiana millions of years ago. And when they erupted, the ash landed and was deposited here in Louisiana. So we actually have volcanic ash from millions of years ago, indicating that volcanoes, even though we don't have them today, we've got evidence of them being here in the geologic past. Paleontology, it just really means the study of the ancient. In common terms, it's fossils, the remains of ancient plants and animals and fungi and protists and so on. The fossils that we have here in the Museum of Natural History can range in size greatly. For example, you might have the tusk of a mammoth that we excavated from Texas. It's 7 or 8 feet long, an ancient elephant's tusk. Whereas some of our other fossils, hundreds of them could fit onto the size of a dime. So when people see the museum, they usually think of things that are only large. But many of our fossils that we have here in the museum are also very, very small and are kept on little slides. From about 50 million years ago up until probably less than 20 million years ago, ocean waters covered most of Louisiana. It's a very new state geologically. And of course we had fossil whales, we had fossil shark teeth, fossil fish and so on that are found here in our state as a result of that ancient ocean that once covered our state.
Archaeology is the study of prehistoric behavior. Generally, we think that it's the collection of artifacts to be put on display in museums, but actually archaeologists are more interested in studying the past behavior of previous cultures. We have the largest number of archaic mound sites in northeast Louisiana, and consequently we also have the largest artifact collections that date to that period. The Ouachita River Valley has the longest span of mound building in North America, beginning with the sites like Watson Brake and Caney Mounds, all the way through proto-historic sites that date to the time of Spanish contact. There's no record like that anywhere else in the country, and we're hoping that our research will make it an asset to the museum.
The 3 divisions of the museum come together through the research provided by the Molecular Biology Lab.
Molecular biology is the study of the molecules that make up all living things. So we focus primarily on DNA and RNA, so the molecules of life, and also on proteins. And we use it here in the museum to study how different organisms, both plants and animals, are related to one another and how they change over time. Anytime you have a molecular genetics lab like we have here, it's a real bonus for our natural history museum, especially for the zoological and the botanical collections. For molecular biology, we use a variety of equipment, DNA sequencers, which allow us to figure out the actual composition of those DNA molecules. The DNA sequencer, it's also called a genetic analyzer. What it does is you produce different size fragments of DNA and you put a fluorescent tag in it.
A vast array of natural history has been discovered on the campus of the University of Louisiana at Monroe. It is now your choice whether this history will remain hidden or be unearthed for all to enjoy.